Addiction is going to keep you in isolation. It's going to keep you away from everyone.
One daughter called him and said the other daughter was brutally murdered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising that your dua is answered. The more temptation, the more dua, the more your reward. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. If opens the doors to the deeds of shaitan. You can't do it by yourself. You have to acknowledge that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone can help me and guard me and guide me.
If you're not going to take recovery serious, you're not going to get nowhere.
Every time you come across social media, something explicit, make dua straight away. Make dua, Ya Allah, protect me. If you get tempted 100 times a day, you call out to Allah 110 times a day. If you get tempted 1,000 times a day, you call out to Allah 1,100 times a day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Welcome to the My Tazkiyah podcast. Today, inshallah, we're going to be discussing taking recovery seriously. We think this is a very much needed topic. I think this is the leading, if not the main cause of why people don't get sober, bro. And that's the reality.
Yeah.
Because why is it that some brothers come onto our program? And like one brother recently I spoke to, he goes, he was on the brink of a divorce. I think the day he joined our program, or very soon after that, he goes, I worked all the 8 stages of your program on the same day. Because he was on the brink of a divorce. And alhamdulillah, he's been sober since last year. And, his marriage is intact, right? He's in a much better place. And now he's helping other brothers get sober. There's brothers, we have the long-term sober members group. The brothers who lead the calls, we see the monthly certificates, years and years and years of sobriety, alhamdulillah, 2+ years of sobriety, 3+ years of sobriety, 6+ years of sobriety. And then there's other brothers who can't get sober for more than a few weeks. And again, I don't want to come from a place of judgment, right? I know there's a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, maybe so I don't want the people who are suffering to go further into shame, as we spoke about in the last topic. You don't want to go into that, but what I want this to be is motivation and a video that can inshallah change your mindset, inshallah change your life, and you can pull your sleeves up and take recovery seriously. Because there's some brothers who basically struggle to get past a few weeks. And a lot of times, you ask the brothers who are struggling, where are you? Have you worked the stages? And they haven't done much work. Are you attending the weekly calls? Maybe not. Are you engaging on the forums? Basically, the orientation stages, the first 3 stages, you reach out, you build a recovery network, and you develop a new daily routine. The essentials to change your addiction lifestyle with a sobriety-based lifestyle. And if nothing changes, nothing changes, as they say, right? So I think a lot of people think that it's when we want to learn, we want to memorize Quran, Arabic, we have that motivation. But it's like a temporary motivation for a lot of us, and we jump on and then we quit, right? I think a lot of people are taking recovery like that as well. They think that, it's a magic pill. I'm going to join and recover. And look, they may be well-intentioned and sincere, but sometimes that's not enough. You need to be very serious and disciplined, right? And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you that sincerity, willingness and discipline on a daily basis. This is why they say recovery programs say 1 day at a time. Because it's a very powerful addiction, right? It's embedded within your brain pathways, your neural pathways, and this is why it's correlated to crack cocaine, right? They call it the online crack cocaine. So if you're not going to be serious, and if you're not going to develop that recovery network, if you're not going to do daily journaling, if you're not going to find out the underlying causes and conditions through the CBT inspired worksheets on a daily basis, if you're not going to make sure you rewire your addictive patterns every time lust comes to your mind, you're not calling out to Allah Azza wa Jal, you're not making dua for that person, you're not going to the gym. Basically our whole program is based on rewiring the old patterns, right? And giving people that new vehicle. Instead of addiction being the vehicle, we give them recovery as a vehicle. And one example I give of, obviously there's a mixture of things. As you lot know, there's a lot of things, a lot of resources and tools. It's like that spiritual toolbox people develop, right? You know, when they go on this journey, like a builder leaves with his spanners, whatever, screwdrivers, you know, hammer, drill inside his toolbox. When you go on this journey of healing, of self-discovery, of sobriety, you take that spiritual toolbox with you and you put in all these spiritual tools, dua, dhikr, you know, dopamine substitution methods, journaling, CBT inspired worksheets, checking in with brothers,
You know,
getting.
sorry, I wanna come in before I forget this. Yeah. So since we've been running, right, what I've realized, because I'm every day on the forums, what I've realized is I've seen the brothers who are serious and taking recovery serious, and the ones who are just there, right? There's one common thing in both of them. They both have. They say that we have urges and all that, right? But the difference between the two is the one who's serious overcomes those urges because he's actually being serious about recovery. You know, he's actually going through the stages. He's doing what you know the program says to do. And the other one is I've given in to my urges. Why? I haven't done this. I haven't done that. I haven't put boundaries. I haven't, you know, this and that. I don't know how many times I've mentioned it on the forums, on the calls. Like, do you journal your triggers? No. So then, how do you know what's triggering you? You know. So if you don't know what's triggering you, you don't know how to prevent it. So the best thing to do is journal. You know, journal your triggers. As soon as you think, what do you call it, urge is happening. Why is it happening? What triggered it? You know, was it a thought that came to your mind? Did you see something on the screen or something? And then future, you know, okay, this is what led me to act out. I need to prevent it. How do I prevent it? Put your prevention down. Write it down, and yeah. So I'm just gonna be straight blunt. If you're not gonna take recovery serious, yeah, you're not gonna get nowhere. Because again, how many brothers have come, taken it serious, and now where are they? You know, alhamdulillah, they're actually, you know, on board with us now. And I've seen many people, they're still on the program, but, you know, it's still like, I can't stay sober for more than a week. I keep relapsing. And when I go and check on the forums, I don't see nothing from them on the forums. I see nothing of their stages or anything. So what is it? You know, I think the way people are built these days is like they want a quick fix, isn't it? So, I mean, they think they're gonna come and all of a sudden they're gonna start recovering from it. They're gonna give up and everything. No, it's a process. You got to have sabr. You got to have patience. You got to take it step by step. And we're saying you got to follow the program. If you're not gonna follow the programs, it's pointless you being there. Because you're just wasting your time. If I'll be honest. Another thing as well is, what I tell the brothers is like, because I've seen a lot of people, they'll start on stage 1, they'll jump to stage 6, 2, 3, 4 is gone. And it's like, why are you jumping to stage 6 when you haven't even done stage 2, 3, 4? So once you do stage 1, if you know in your heart and if you know, okay, I've conquered this stage, I know everything about this stage, right? Then move on to the second stage. Don't just think, okay, I'm going to quickly complete stage 1 and just move on to the next stage, because again, it's pointless. If you're not going to learn anything from the stages, then there's no point in you keep going forward. So once you've done a stage and you know for sure that, okay, I know everything about this stage now, move on. Again, within a week, I've seen brothers all the way to stage 8, like, writing on stage 8, and I'm like thinking, what have you learned? Like, in a week, you're on stage 8, So, yeah, man.
You notice on the forums, general discussion, first stage, second stage is very busy.
Yeah.
And after that, it gets quieter, and hardly anyone is using stage 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of gearing this conversation more towards the brothers that's already on the program.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
And I believe we should also, speak to the brothers who are not on the program, because I believe
My bad.
they will watch the video more than those who are on our program. And we hope, both parties can benefit.
Inshallah.
But what I was going to say was to the brothers on the program was that, as you mentioned, As you mentioned, when you first start, you have that burst of motivation and you really want to, get the ball rolling as such. And then that motivation will die. So what we say is that, get an accountability partner, and that's something that we have on a program where you can request one. And even if you don't decide not to join our program, have a recovery community, have someone you can speak to, and because addiction is gonna keep you in isolation. It's gonna keep you away from everyone. But you need to be able to open and speak about it with someone who has your best interest at heart. So don't tell someone who's gonna shame you and guilt you into it, and
exactly.
maybe it might be a parent who may not understand it. I'm thinking, astaghfirullah, how can you do this, and you're evil and this and that, and shun you out, as we were saying in the last podcast, last episode. But have someone there who can understand you. Maybe it's a close friend. Maybe it's your imam from the local mosque who you have a good relationship with. Maybe it's a teacher at school and try to go for someone who's Muslim, so they can understand. Because I remember a brother saying he went to a psychotherapist, he was non-Muslim, and he said, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with porn. There's nothing wrong with masturbation and stuff like that." So and the thing is, even though he says that, there's the biggest non-Muslim movement for anti-porn, which is NoFap, and they're very against porn. So this psychotherapist saying it's nothing wrong with it, and then there's a whole massive group saying no, this is the worst thing, and it's destroyed our lives, it's destroyed our marriages, it's destroyed our relationship with our children, and destroyed our communities as such. So you've got to really realize that this is something wrong, and you need to get help. But back to what I was saying about the accountability partner, it's not something we automatically assign someone at sign up, and the reason for that is because we don't know where everyone's head is at, and some brothers come on very motivated and they lose that motivation. Some brothers are very serious and they'll carry on, but we don't know where they are. So request an accountability partner through our forums. It's there on the menu. It's very easy to access and request. Bear with us while we also try to match up with someone, because we don't want to match you with someone who's on the other side of the world, because then you will never be able to really speak on the phone. So bear with us while we try to find someone who's suitable for yourself. And you can read one of the brothers' entry on that thread, where he mentions that his accountability partner has become a very close friend, and that every single day without fail he will speak to him. And I believe it's such an amazing bond that these two brothers have, and I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. And it's such an amazing bond that from two strangers on the internet who are separated by about 100 miles from where I remember, but they've never met in real life, which is a bit crazy. He said that one of the brothers got married, and he didn't manage to get to his wedding because of something else. But so they've never met in real life, but they have such an amazing bond where they can speak to each other anytime, and they have a really amazing bond and really become close brothers. And even though they've never seen each other, which is crazy to think about. But and once you are assigned the accountability partner, take it seriously. This is an amana, because that brother is relying on you to be there to support him and help him, and the same way you're relying on him. So you help each other through the program, because, and I say this, that sometimes you're going to motivate, sometimes he's going to motivate. You pick each other up, and go towards that common goal. I try to compare it to a group project at school, where you all have that common goal and you want to achieve the outcome of that project. So you help each other. You ask him, what are you struggling with? Okay, this is what I done to help to overcome that part, and this is what I'm struggling with. Can you help me with this? And really confide in each other and really bring the inside out, as we say in the program. So that's what my message is about regarding accountability partners.
Yeah, and basically that's what's so beautiful. Like I've been in these addiction circles for a while, right? Addiction/recovery circles. So basically, I don't think I've met anyone with long-term sobriety who doesn't have these close brothers, like this relationship, this beautiful relationship. And that's a beautiful thing about developing a recovery network, or even getting counseling, coaching, because you're most likely going to be strangers, right? Dealing with each other, Muslims, inshallah. But so there's not going to be a lot of judgment. That person is not going to judge you for everything. And you can take off that mask. That mask that we show the world. When you come into recovery circles like my Tazkiyah or other recovery circles, or go to a coach counselor, you can be yourself, right? And you start off with your weaknesses, and you say, look, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, my marriage is suffering, right? I have financial fears, I can't pay my bills. You can be real, and that's so therapeutic, bro. Like, we don't get that space. As men. And that's, I think, the beautiful thing that because a lot of these burdens that we have, this pain, right? this intolerable pain and suffering that individuals have, they're self-soothing that with things like pornography. SubhanAllah, that's what's really going on. So when they developed that group of brothers, and this is why we encourage checking in, right? Regularly getting connected with brothers. Addiction thrives in isolation. It stops growing when you shine light on it, right? And some brothers that I remember they've mentioned in the past, do we have to expose our sins, or you lot tell us to expose our sins? No, we don't say you expose haram. We say you expose the tricks and the trade of shaitan, the pathways that lead you towards the haram. So meaning something you will do with a counselor, like the stress, or for instance, call up a brother. Akhi, I've had a madness with the missus, bro. This is what is going on. Can you advise me? And just by checking in, you've disrupted that pattern of stress, anxiety, anger, resentment towards the missus will eventually lead you towards lust, not lowering your gaze, wandering about on social media, and then going to the end result, acting out, watching pornography. So by checking in, you first of all disrupt that pathway. Then what you do is you give that time gap. You slow down the process, and you allow yourself to process your feelings and emotions. Why am I so angry at my wife? And then because you're talking to another brother, the other brother, inshallah, is going to give you some good advice. He might, mention a verse from the Quran. He might mention a hadith, and maybe a statement from the scholars. And he will remind you maybe something to do with therapy. And what that will do is, he might say, bro, like, this is not even an issue, akhi. Like, shaitan is just playing with your mind. And that whole kind of situation has been diffused and dissolved, right? Maybe the brother will say, akhi, just go to the gym, man. Just do a session on the bags. Go for a run. Go to the masjid. Sit down. Do some present moment awareness. Go to the masjid. Read 2 nafil. Read a bit of Quran and go back home. And everything will be calm. Do you know what I mean? So it's so beautiful. Like you said, these brothers as well. As he said, he goes, I've been through thick and thin together. If it wasn't for him, after, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it wasn't for this brother, I don't know how I would have got sober for 2 years. So that's something very therapeutic and powerful in recovery. And secondly, what I was going to mention is you see some brothers, and again, I know as an organization is our responsibility, and you see, alhamdulillah, in our team meetings, we regularly try to find out why are these young brothers, sometimes complaining about the usage of worksheets, videos, basically user experience. And you've seen how much we try to reach out to developers, how can we better user experience? Because we're older. Like, I'm not that well versed with technology, subhanAllah. So obviously we try to better the user experience. But at the same time, along with the user experience, I think there's more than that. And not to bash the brothers, but I think sometimes I'm like this. Like I said, Islamic classes or we want to be spoon-fed.
Yeah.
Why is it that some brothers, from this, these brothers, many brothers that we know, long-term sobriety, some of them I haven't talked to, until I found out they're 2 years sober. I was like, Allahu Akbar.
Yeah.
We never helped them with anything. They came on the program, like that brother who worked the whole 8 stages. And then sometimes I get brothers, where's the videos? Where's the worksheets? And we've tried to sort that out, put the worksheet together with the videos. Where's the weekly meetings? You know what I mean? Everything's there, my brothers and sisters. Bi'idhnillah, this program has helped many brothers and sisters recover. A lot of brothers we personally know. It works, and no one can refute this. Obviously, our program is therapy and spirituality, right? A big emphasis on spirituality. The solution ultimately is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the ways we recommend individuals to deal with all this, because, when you're coming in active addiction, your mind is filled with lust, a lot of lustful thoughts, your gaze is really messy, and so on, maybe your use of social media. So what we say is the zero tolerance approach to lust. Zero tolerance to second looks, second thoughts, second clicks, right? And obviously, if we were to never take a second look or not engage in any second thought or click, how will things go further? No one will be able to relapse, right? It always starts off. There's a process, there's a bridge that the inner addict uses to get you to the other side, right? We have to break down this bridge. How do we break it down? We start off with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we say is obviously avoid zero tolerance approach to second looks, second thoughts, second clicks. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. Do not go near zina. But how do you do that? Right? You can't do it by yourself. You have to acknowledge that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone can help me and guard me and guide me, right? But obviously you tie the camel and you do the action. So I'm telling you the action right now. Everyone can apply this. A reminder for everyone. So every time you see someone on the streets that you feel a certain way towards, every time an evil thought comes to your mind, as we are told to seek refuge in Allah, every time you come across social media, something explicit, make dua straight away, right? Make dua, Ya Allah, protect me from myself, protect me from lust. Ya Allah, guide or guard my eyes, guard my heart, guard my feelings, emotions, my body. Every single time without fail though. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاءِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. I love this verse. When my servant asks you concerning me, indeed I am near. I answer the invocation of the supplicant when he calls upon me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising that your dua is answered. Right? Every dua is ibadah. So it's a win-win situation, right? It's a win-win situation. You're getting reward every time you make dua. The more temptation, the more dua, the more your reward. But what you're doing is you're calling out to the Lord of the heavens and the earth, right? To solve your problem. Yeah, but do it every single time. If the shaitan doesn't get tired in calling you towards haram, why are you getting tired in calling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help? If you get tempted 100 times a day, you call out to Allah 110 times a day. If you get tempted 1,000 times a day, you call out to Allah 1,100 times a day, right? And if you make dua every time a temptation comes to you, whether through the eyes, whether through the mind, whether it's physical, it's going to be very hard for a person to relapse, right? It's going to be very hard for a person to relapse. And also the other thing that brothers mentioned, make dua for the people you feel lustful towards, right? Ya Allah, bless this person, protect them, guide them, for Muslims, for non-Muslims, Ya Allah, guide them to Islam. And that applies to everyone. No one is beyond Allah's guidance. Whether that's things you've seen online, whether that's people you've seen online, whether that's actors, whether that's people on the streets, whether that's, wherever it is, always make dua. And, brothers say that kind of diffuses the lust. It creates a barrier. Lust is very selfish, right? When you're lusting, you are taking. And when you're making dua for that person, you are giving, right? You are disrupting and reversing the whole process. And my brothers and sisters, if you make these du'as and you call out to Allah 1,000 times a day, you are getting immense reward, and it'll be very hard for you to relapse. And secondly, maybe the shaitan will get tired and he'll be like, you know what, as we hear these stories, that he's or she is actually doing much more ibadah through this temptation that I am basically whispering and targeting them with. So let me just try a different method. Allow this man recover, go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to stop this. Maybe the shaitan will get tired because you're actually doing more ibadah now because of this addiction, subhanallah.
I think we forget that who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the sense that, I'll ask you for something, then I'll ask you again, then I'll ask you again. Yeah. Eventually, stop bothering me, stop it, stop asking me. Yeah. But whereas we can ask Allah and ask Allah, Allah will never tire from giving us what we want. And there's a hadith Qudsi, I believe it is where you can ask Allah for everything, and I'm paraphrasing again, and hopefully we can add it into the description where it said if a needle was dipped into the ocean and you see the amount of water that's on that needle, not even that much will be taken from Allah's bounties and blessings. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact hadith.
Okay, yeah. But we'll mention it in the description. Yeah. But as you say, keep asking Allah Ta'ala, and I think that's something that we all need reminding of, is to keep turning to Him, no matter if in moments of happiness, in moments of sadness. In moments of happiness, be grateful to Allah. Ya Allah, look, I'm so blessed to be able to see my daughter playing. I'm so blessed to be able to pick up my child from nursery or school. That's moments of happiness. And then there's moments of sadness, or of moments of anger, or moments of depression, anxiety, worries. We all have these things because it's part of being human. To ask Allah during these times as well. and Allah subhanahu will bring that sakina and tranquility into your heart. And and it's such an amazing feeling to have that sakina, that despite things going wrong, you have that peace in your heart.
Yeah. Right, that's beautiful, man. Like today, sometimes we may, like, we will all suffer. They say one of the leading causes of like divorces or marital problems is financial issues, right? So we will all have financial fears, and or other problems in our day bothering us. And how you can replace that is with shukr, just being grateful. It immediately changes your mindset, even on a physical level. Like, if you're so worried about money, just make shukr for the clean water that you have to drink. Do you know what I mean? The car that you're driving, you have money in the bank. You're not starving right now. You're not in a place that is, there's a genocide taking place.
Exactly.
Right? Allah has blessed you with so much. And when you look at that, it creates a big shift, in your mindset. And inshallah, that will take away a lot of negative feelings. If you're feeling low mood, anxious, fearful, and these are two things we recommend. Like his one brother, subhanallah, recently he goes, he's learning about Tawheed, like Kitab al-Tawheed, with some like students of knowledge. And he goes, the way you lot like mentioned it, like in the stages, yeah, I've never heard of it before. Like, it was in an amazing way. And I was shocked. Obviously, we're not scholars, you know what I mean? We're far from that, right? We are in touch with, people of knowledge, and we have people of knowledge in our team. But the only thing, as I mentioned it on the group with you lot, the only thing I could think of is that we signpost people, right? And there is this continuous reminder about Tawheed, right? At Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, like, singling out Allah in lordship. He is in control. He's in charge of your affairs. Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, singling him out in his worship. And then we emphasize a lot on Asma' wa Sifat, to basically learn about Allah, learn about the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I know a lot of brothers are involved in this. So what we say is go to the scholars and learn, watch, read books about these topics, watch talks regarding these topics. And the only thing we do is signpost, meaning, akhi, study this. Know your Lord. Know who your Lord is. The most merciful, the most generous, the most loving, the most kind. And know, husn al-dhan. Think good of him. Think good of him. He's got you. The negative thinking is your conditioning, bro. It's nothing to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's just your experiences in that violent background you had. That, stuff you were involved in. Or maybe the family dynamics that you have had. And that's why you're suffering from these thoughts. Something's going to go wrong. Anxiety, this, that. Learn about Allah. And take yourself out of the traps of shaitan. And I believe that's what, he meant, right, when he was saying it. And, another powerful thing he said, I haven't mentioned it to you, brothers. And he said, it's like the recovery program uncovered another layer of jahiliyyah from me. SubhanAllah. I don't know the brother's background, right? If he's, had a jahil background, whatever. But the fact that he's saying another layer of jahiliyyah, maybe, he had some kind of background. And I didn't go too deep into it, but I can relate. Therapy has definitely uncovered another layer of jahiliyyah. What is that layer of jahiliyyah? My tarbiyah, my anger issues, stress, anxiety, resentments, thinking bad of people, resentment, jealousy. SubhanAllah, these things are so painful. I would just, again, I don't want to expose myself. I came across something on YouTube with a crime documentary again, yeah? Please don't watch it, brothers. I'm not like, promoting that. But the lady is saying she got shot 10 times by her husband. SubhanAllah. And later on in the documentary, she said that, I forgave him. The interviewer's like, you forgave him? Like, you shocked? She goes, yeah, because it's very painful living a life of hatred, bearing this enmity, this pain towards other people. She goes, I had to forgive. It's like that story of the recovering alcoholic, who said he was, in recovery. He goes, one day, one daughter called him and said the other daughter was brutally murdered. And he goes, at that time, I went to God and I said, God, this does not change our relationship. And he goes, after that day, it did not bother me. That incident did not bother me. Why? Because he submitted it. He surrendered to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what he was trying to say is, if he never submitted it to Allah, he would have probably gone back to a life of alcoholism and died a horrible death. Right? So he submitted that in a sense where this is a qadr of Allah. Ya Allah, I accept your qadr. Like our brothers and sisters, are doing in Palestine, subhanAllah. And, like that journalist as well, whose whole family was, basically ended off. He said that accepting the qadr of Allah is the only way, kind of forward. Because any other way is pain and misery and suffering, right? And if you look at anything, these are my last words. The hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, if something befalls you, do not say, if only I had done such and such. Rather say, qadar Allahu wa ma sha'a fa'ala. For saying if opens the doors to the deeds of shaitan. So, we should never say, even something that happened hours, seconds before, bro. Like even something done in this podcast, we correct our mistakes if we can. Like we can edit it. We make tawbah for our past. We always make tawbah, but we should not say according, subhanallah, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us mental health. There's many narrations where he teaches us about mental health, and Allah teaches us about mental health in the Quran. And he said, don't say, if only I done this. Oh, this should have happened like that. That should have happened like that. Say this is the qadr of Allah, meaning accept the qadr of Allah and move forward. It is the best way, the best mindset to have, inshallah.
So,
I think the story of either Abu Talha or Abdul Ahad in the Tazkiyah ebook, where he mentions that he's talking about his story, and then he mentions at the end, and I realized that my addiction was a blessing in disguise, because it brought me closer to Allah Ta'ala. So my brother, my sister, you're probably watching this video and thinking, how can this addiction ever be a blessing? And you're on this side of the journey as such, and you need to get to that side, and it's going to be a process, but eventually you'll get to that stage, and your connection with Allah Ta'ala will be nothing like you've ever had before, where you can really open up to Him and really turn to Him at any moment and realize that and realize that sweetness of Iman. And we all pray that you get to that stage. And as Brother Abu Musa was saying, that the blueprint, the program, it works. It definitely works with the permission of Allah Ta'ala, bi-idhnillah, but you must work it. So whether you join this program or any other program, commit to it and really try hard. And there's going to be moments where you're not motivated, but seek help. Tell them, listen, I'm struggling to connect with others. I'm struggling to work the program. I'm struggling to watch the video, and open up and talk about it. As Abu was mentioned about how men, we don't open up, but we have that safe space where we can open up and talk with complete strangers on the internet who have that common goal of working towards recovery. So that's my last few words.
Anything to say?
No.
Okay. Barakallahu feek for watching this episode. As always, may Allah bless you all, and we'll end it there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.